Hello and welcome back for another episode of Indie Impressions. My name is Nick and today we're checking out Mike Bithell's Thomas Was Alone, a very often requested episode in fact, and one that I've been looking quite forward to playing. It was one of those games that when it came out I wasn't able to pick it up, and thankfully I had a copy gifted to me and I'm very happy to check it out. This is friend of the channel, J Smith OTI's pick of the year for Indie Game of 2012, so that does count quite a bit. He's an intelligent guy. I know he definitely has seen a few indie games, and well, in general, I've heard a lot of good things about it, and I've also seen, well, very little in fact, because I've actually kind of sequestered myself away from this game so I don't spoil it. But the general presentation, the beautiful music, the aesthetic, all looks like it would really be a great fit for the show. So I'm happy to get to try it out. I just wanted to show the credits very briefly here, and we're going to start up a new game. I made sure to set up the audio situation so it pretty accurately hits the voice acting and not so much on the other stuff, so that way I can talk. You guys can hear me, but I'm going to be quiet and let the voice acting happen, because I've heard it's quite a important part of the game. So let's start it up. The program was a failure. People forget this. It was a massive flop. The coders started adding name strings to the AIs as a joke. Thomas AT23612 wasn't special. It was just an AI in the right place at the something time.
Was alone. Wow. A weird first thought to have.
Alright, so we can play this either by keyboard or by Xbox 360 controller. I'm going to choose the latter here, as I frequently do. So we're this little orangey red kind of rectangle, and we're going to go through a door. Seems legit.
Thomas decided to start listing his observations for posterity.
Alright, so Thomas is going to list his observations.
Alone thing. 2. Portals. They led somewhere. He'd yet to work out where. 3. Falling. Thomas was absolutely fantastic at falling. He was almost as good at falling as he was at observing.
Alright, well he knows his strengths, that's important. I like the shading technique and everything here. It's actually reminding me a lot of the game engine in Super Meat Boy. The way the lighting works, there was usually a fixed light source that we can actually identify because of the way the light is jumping around like that. Should be right there. In this case, the light source is actually muted, so there's no like flare or anything, which is kind of interesting. And so far, I really like the voice acting. The guy's voice reminds me a little bit of the voice actor from Little Big Planet, which I was a huge fan of, actually.
Interesting. Thomas couldn't fall past this block. Think, damn it, think. What if there was some kind of
inverted fall?
Some way to... what's the word? Jump.
I think I figured it out. What's this?
Worked! Thomas had solved the great inverted fall mystery.
I got a thing. Achievement for 1. Everything is a very designy feel, actually.
But Thomas noted there was no real danger in missing it. The world didn't want him to fail here. It was pushing him, but gently.
So I think we're having one of those interesting, like, esoteric, existential moments where the game is sort of critiquing game design through the use of a character. I mean, that's kind of fairly obvious, but it's an interesting thing nonetheless. Not a lot of ways to frame that kind of a thing that really works out well.
This all seemed a little dangerous. The world was not to be trusted. It was unstable, and it seemed to Thomas that it could let him down at any moment.
Oh, like that, apparently. I thought I could swim, perhaps, but, you know, I am just like a rectangle. How do I get
this
that
all seemed a little dangerous.
Can I just jump at it?
The world was
okay.
not to be trusted.
I guess I got it. I don't need to hear the voice acting again here, but... oh, wow.
The world
I wasn't expecting such dynamic movement.
Unstable, and it seemed to Thomas that it could let him down at any moment.
Poor Thomas.
Thomas wondered whether the portals were actually taking him anywhere. He felt like he was making progress, but there wasn't really any way to know. He seemed to be moving predominantly up and to the right, which might, or might not, be important.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I did a... Oh, I'm probably going to get interrupted here. Maybe, maybe not.
It might have been paranoia again, but Thomas could have sworn the world was becoming more complicated. It always seemed to be one step ahead of his skills.
Great reading. I really like that.
It had been designed just for him. He wondered why. Was the world testing him? No. Too obvious.
Anyway, what I was going to say before is I made a series of songs. I don't know if you would technically classify it as a band, but I was calling it Trust the Fungus, where I was writing songs based from the perspective of like the emotional reactions of game characters, you know, to the world around them. For the main example, like my best song I think out of that was I did one called Feet Don't Fail Me Now, and it was the world from the perspective of Samus, and the frustration of how like everywhere she goes it seems like the world's trying to get her, and everything's closing on around her, and she's trying to find her parts, but like she's found her parts, but can she find her heart? Was the main chorus to that, and I think that's kind of an interesting similar thing that we're both going for in this. We're critiquing games in a sort of strange, assuming a role of a character within one of them and looking on, you know, from the inside out. And I'm not sure I can say I've seen a lot of other games that have gone for that sort of an aesthetic or an you know, perspective. And pardon my really hesitant, reticent playing here. I'm going extremely slow just because I'm trying to intersperse with a little commentary.
Something about the boiling, toxic, glowing water intimidated Thomas. He didn't like it. He certainly didn't want to swim in it.
Yeah, I figured that part out from when it killed me before.
He made another mental note. 4. Water. Not good. To be avoided.
I like this Thomas guy. He's got a good head on his shoulders. I guess that would be his triangular head there. I don't think that's his head. I think that's just identifying who I'm playing as. I believe there are other friends that we meet on later. Past the respawn. Okay, so we've saved our progress here. And I think we're probably going to start the proper game soon, because this has all been pretty tutorial-ish. Yeah, this looks a little more complicated.
The loneliness was getting to Thomas. No amount of observation or obsessive note-taking could combat that.
It's a nice effect that the developer cared enough about the text or the subtitles from that to actually make them rescale based on where your character is in perspective to the UI. Or the borders of the screen, I should say. Man, this is such an abstract level design situation. It's just fragmented cubes all around, or squares. And that's really it. Doesn't seem like there was a great deal of, you know, specifically careful layout to it, which is in a way more organic. But I'm pretty sure it was designed to look that way, which makes it less
Thomas
organic.
had a new theory. The world was training him.
Yeah.
He could feel himself getting smarter. There was the mental list to consider. Over the minutes and seconds since his spontaneous generation, he'd become a pretty skilled jumper. He was evolving. He just wished he had someone to share it with.
Man, this does have a lot to do with Little Big Planet, it seems. This looks like exactly one of the ways that you would set up some platforms in it. Actually, I bet someone could recreate this whole game in Little Big Planet. Well, aside from the narration and probably a lot of the nuanced stuff. But the idea of it, I mean. I was actually pretty big in the Little Big Planet 2 modding scene for a while. Well, I mean, pretty big as far as I cared about it, not that I attained any kind of success in it. That's totally separate. Alright, now I feel like I'm in a fun house, trying to hop around to get to that. There's always that, like, rotating cylinder that you go in that turns sideways, and somebody's always laying in it, and you gotta, like, try and step over them. Yeah, that's weird. Alright, let's go in this portal. I should mention the controls are pretty solid. I haven't had any complaints about them. There is an interesting sort of friction that happens with the characters. Sometimes it seems like he slides for just a moment too long, but maybe that's not true at all, because now I'm tapping the control stick and not really sliding, so I don't know, maybe he builds up slight momentum over distance. And the jump feels great, so, you know, no real complaints on the controls. Sound is beautiful, by the way. The music, the accompaniment—it's all really nice. Submitted hundreds of bug reports. I told that idiot this would happen. Overlapping scripts. More than one AI was bound to be spawned into an environment at some point. Turns out I missed that point. That little error changed everything. Alright, we're gonna switch characters now.
Deep dislike to the skinny red rectangle.
Christopher.
Who the hell did this Thomas think he was?
Alright, I see how this works. So we're gonna move to our own little portals, and then everybody should be happy. So, Christopher doesn't seem like he jumps quite as high. He's a little bit more squat, which is fine.
Chris had been doing fine. He wasn't the highest jumper, but he'd held his own. He'd even been graceful at times. Well, not technically graceful, probably the wrong word, but, you know, fine. There was that skinny little runt leaping about like he owned the place.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to be able to reach over this without the help of Thomas. So that's where the gameplay starts to form up. We realize we can control either of them and make our way forward using the skills of each individual to help the others. The AI is learning, and Skynet became self-aware that day. Hopefully not. Thomas is awfully nice. I wouldn't compare him to Skynet in the least. Alright, so now we just need to hang out over here. I should be able to use Thomas to prop up Christopher. And you can actually make a nice little letter I. I like how you've got their little squares down in the corner, and all they're really represented by is just, you know, a little color. And that's all you need. Minimalist game design. I love it. I know it's probably not everybody's cup of tea, but, you know, the stuff I'm interested in, it definitely works well for me. I am very much into, you know, basic stuff. Oh, I forgot Thomas is trying to go the other side. Alright, that's where we started. Yeah, he really is good at jumping now in comparison. I wonder if this is how Super Meat Boy got started. I was just watching this charity live stream from the guys at Speedrun Archive, and I'll finish my story before I go in here. And they had Tommy and Edmund on the stream. They called in via Skype, and they were describing some of the things that were happening like throughout the process of development on Super Meat Boy. And they said at one point, you know, basically it was like a red square jumping on blue squares, avoiding green squares. This is kind of like a similar thing, just really dressed up and made to be a finished game. And honestly, I don't see any problem with it. Like, it looks really stunning in its own right. Like, the design aesthetic behind it seems great. And I don't even question that. Like, I don't ever think, like, just because you're playing as a square that this feels unfinished or anything. So, there's some really interesting things you can do in game design. Like, you don't have to make things any certain way. You can just give them the right amount of character, and regardless of where they're at, they might feel great. So I'll probably go through this portal next. I know you're probably sick of hearing me talk. It is a common complaint that I talk too much at the beginning of the episodes, and sometimes I do it, I guess, in the middle, too.
Okay, this was more like it. A glowy white thing. Only Chris could get to it, which of course made it all the more enticing. What would it do? What new opportunity might this switch open up to him? Great, great. Another chance for Thomas to jump slightly higher than Chris. How fortunate. Seriously, this made the whole switch pressing thing entirely worthwhile.
I love it. So there's a little bit of humor interspersed. Everything feels really kind of lighthearted, like a storybook. And I think you're going to end up bonding quite a bit to these little AI companions throughout the game, and I think that's probably where a lot of the charm and the appeal comes from, and why people are considering this a really great game, and I'm actually feeling the same way so far.
Was this good? Because on the surface, it did not seem good. Chris was pretty scared. Little Red seemed fine, happy to be on his merry little adventure. Chris couldn't shake the feeling that things had taken a significant turn for the worse since Thomas had joined him. Sure, he'd been able to piggyback his way to ever so slightly higher platforms, but where had that got him? Well, to ever so slightly higher platforms, which was sort of his point.
Isn't this how I'm supposed to do it? Oh, well, I guess Thomas should probably use Chris that time. Okay. I've gotten it in my head that only Chris was the one to be holding down buttons for whatever reason, but yeah, that'll be trained right out of me again. Alright, so now it looks like we've got a... Oh, I thought I was going to say almost a more nonlinear environment, which I could easily see being a presentation that would be pretty cool for this kind sort of a game. That was one of my projects when I was working on Super Meat Boy levels, was I was trying to make a non-linear Meat Boy environment. And of course, non-linear is using that term very subjectively in this case, because really you can't make a non-linear Meat Boy environment, it's got to be broken up into levels. But I was trying to give it the illusion that you had a free run to go where you want to go, and then each time you solve one of the levels, it opens up the next part of a bigger hub world. And I think it was pretty ambitious, and in fact I had to stop because I kept crashing in my dev mode because it was just too much RAM used up. Not sure the thing would actually have been playable.
Stared at Thomas with pure hatred.
Oh, Chris.
He seemed so very happy at their situation. Friends together, a brave fellowship of quadrilaterals on a quest for greatness. That would be fine. But it was all the obvious observation that Thomas was doing which grated. Every time they saw something vaguely new, Chris would hear a satisfied little from the vaulting idiot. He hoped the next portal would split them up, if only for a few levels.
Oh, okay. I keep thinking his jump is even shorter than it actually is. There we go. As much as I'm enjoying the narration, I feel like at times maybe I wish it happened a little less frequently, but maybe it's just... Oh, whoops. Maybe it's just because I'm still getting used to the pacing of the game, and as we get further in, it's probably gonna take a little bit of a backseat, perhaps. Or maybe that's just the charm, and it just keeps getting better as we go. I guess it's just the purist in me is wishing I had a chance to really flex some, you know, platforming skills, and, well, it's probably actually the Super Meat Boy player in me that's going, man, I wish I could complete lots of levels in 5 seconds, which is not the pacing of this game at all. And in fact, it probably caters to a completely different audience, and that is perfectly acceptable. So far, I wouldn't consider anything in here to be, you know, remotely challenging yet. But granted, we're still at the very beginning of the game, I would guess. I'm not sure how long this one is. But I have a feeling based on the scope and from the couple of screenshots I've seen that there are more friends we meet along the way, and the journey keeps getting more expansive and more open and more interesting. So, I guess we're going to keep at it for a little bit here. Loving that nice effect going on over the water, very pretty. These little touches, that's all you really need to make it seem so elegant. Oh, what is this? We have a new friend?
John knew. He knew that this was his chance. A moment to shine. This was game day.
So we've got John, we've got Christopher, and we've got Thomas. And the three of them are about to do some vaulting, although we're going to have to do this carefully. Can I freeze in place? How am I supposed to do that? He's on top of him. Can I carry him up? No. Oh, I think I get what I'm supposed to do here. I gotta switch to him and kick him up, and then immediately switch back. Or something like that. Or maybe actually... it might not even be that complicated, actually. Let's just go right here, put Thomas there, and put him there. Okay. I was trying to make this seem a lot more difficult than it actually was.
This would not do. John needed room to show off his exceptional skills. As it was, he was trapped on the wrong side of these little dot things.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem.
Where did they come from, anyway?
Alright, well, we can go down into this little pit here, and that should make this much easier to solve. No, no, wrong guy. Yeah, I can actually go left or right when I'm selecting, so don't feel like I'm stuck going in the same sequence. I love how the music just...
John inhaled the air of the open space, and it smelled of awesome.
Smelled of awesome. I love how the music is just really setting this nice whimsical tone.
Put his training to use, time to show those little dots how it was done.
Yeah, I feel like still the narration's coming across a little frequently, more than I would expect. I like this too, that when you die in the water, it looks like you've just, you know, left some fish food in there. I think we needed to use him in a more effective way. Perhaps as a vaulting point. Well, I'm not really sure how. Everybody's jumping in the water now. So I guess the puzzles here are going to come across more from the use, dynamic use of the characters in the game to solve... Oh, right, there's a button on the other side, wasn't there? Okay. So you guys can hang out over here, and I'll stop suiciding everyone. So more than just the platforming, I think the puzzle elements are really going to come from the use of the characters.
Decided
more
to
so.
press the switch to let the little dots catch up with him. John cared for his new allies.
Oh, isn't he nice?
You could tell from the sympathetic expression he'd practiced in the mirror all these years.
Oh, it's one of those little spinning pixels down there. I want to get it. I'm going to need to use all of them together in this case. Several times, in fact. I often wonder about when we do a puzzle like this, where, I mean, I know it's not really so much a puzzle, but like a function, where you've got this situation, then the same thing repeated here, and then the same thing again repeated here. It seems a little bit like it's beating you over the head with it, because it's not difficult to jump Thomas into place and then have Christopher jump on his head. But, yeah, I'm probably just complaining now. Alright, so let's try and get that pixel up here. Shouldn't be difficult at all. In fact, there we go. Double act. Kind of looks like that thing's giving me the finger there. I don't like that. Everybody in the hole. No, you stay where you are. I didn't mean to get you all riled up. So we're going to have to probably jump on Thomas a couple more times here. Can't seem to pick the one I want to use. And since he's kind of short, he's going to have to go through the... Okay, yeah, that makes sense. He's going to go through the little slot there. And I'm going to actually have to do this in reverse order. Because this time, Thomas needs help to get over. He actually needs help from everybody, doesn't he? That's fine. No difficulty to that. And then we want to go back to you. And finally to you. Problem solved. So we'll do one more, I guess. We'll go to, I guess, number 2, Act 2, or whatever we want to call it. I'm very interested in the level design. It's going to be really interesting seeing the progression of the puzzles here. Because this is a case where the gameplay is very non-traditional.
He felt it was important to his image that he was seen to help the little guys.
It's not often that the protagonists are simply shapes, basically blocks. So in this case, I think that's going to be pretty unique. I'm just going to scout ahead a little bit and see what is going on up here. That platform is going to go up, that switch over there. Light sources being sort of intangible in the center of areas is a little strange. Because, I mean, like, right there, you just sort of break it. And then it just becomes a solid block over on the left side that covers everything. Interesting. Alright guys, so let's get moving up here. I'm going to need to jump off of the big guy. Alright, I'm going to have to do this in a 2-step process. You go to that, you go... How am I supposed to get Thomas in there? Uh-oh. Can I... How can I do this? I need to maybe get him on top and then jump him up. Oh, he won't jump anymore. Okay, I thought before I was jumping when he was involved there. Wait. There we go. That works. And now I'm going to need to do the same for Thomas, except the easier way. And out we are. And then one more gap here. That one's no problem for him. Oh, it's still a problem for him, though. See, that's what I mean. It's getting to be almost a little bit tedious to keep doing the same, like, alright, he can't make it up this tiny little step, so let's go stand under it thing again and again. But it also makes sense from a gameplay perspective. I mean, you do sometimes need to sort of pad out your levels a little bit. And that works then. Okay. It doesn't seem like we're repeating the same thing a few too many times. We probably didn't need that. But maybe it's also just because we wanted a little bit of vertical escalation. And how are you going to do that if you don't make some steps, right? Well, or you would use some platforms. Anything's possible. So let's head up here.
So much either. The red one, Thomas, had a charming way of applauding every time John jumped. The angry orange one was less immediately likable, but his unremitting cynicism and tutting amused John.
I love that they're given so much character. They're just a couple of squares. Oh, square and a rectangle. And another rectangle. He's not going to be able to reach that at all, so I'm going to have to get him back down again. Can't even climb up him. Come on, man, you got to get better at jumping. And I'm going to guess I'm probably not going to be able to clear this gap. Oh, no, I can actually. So let's get him up there, and then we can... Whoa! Don't screw this up. I think it's just my really worn-out control stick on this 360 controller. I don't think he's really slipping because of any reason at the fault of the game. And that should do it and get us all up there. There we go. And then I need to reverse positioning here. Just get him a little bit closer to the edge. Oh, put him there. Make some steps. And again. Please don't take it the wrong way. I'm not really being, or intending to be harshly critical or anything of the fact that this puzzle element keeps getting used. It's perfectly fine. I actually need to jump off of Thomas, I think, to get at that secret. I don't know what we're calling these things. Yeah, I barely made it. But I hate passing up a good secret. Whether it be a bandage or some other form. Hidden packages, perhaps. We've seen a lot of secrets throughout the years. That would be a nice top 10 list, like best secret items. Secret collectibles, I guess. Alright, I think we're almost done with this level. Should be able to make my way up with Thomas just fine. Let's do it. No, I need one more step ladder to get my way up to that platform. Alright, now we're in. Oh, he's still solid, isn't he? Ugh. Just jump on him to get over him. You stay put, and done. Oh, this is 110. I figured this would be 2. Alright.
This was interesting. A floating target. This would require coordination, balance, and timing.
Well, I think you can probably get the picture of what the game is like.
Lost, but he was happy to guide them to triumph.
Pacing may be a little bit on the slow side at times, but that's just a personal issue. That's not really an issue with the game. I think for what the game is trying to accomplish, it's very well done. Presentation's great, music's great, sound's great, control's great, charming, quirky, humorous.
That's what the dots were for. They were there to extend John's reach, to make his performance even more impressive. John liked the thought. He decided to keep them.
And yeah, we're learning quite a bit about these little characters as we go, and I think it's going to be quite an interesting journey. So I would wholeheartedly recommend this one. I'm definitely going to be playing this one further. And I don't really see any real downsides. I mean, aside from the little nitpicks I had, those are just personal. I don't think there's really anything objectively at issue here. So Thomas Was Alone. It's pretty much every bit as good as I've been hearing. So thank you very much for all the recommendations for this one, and really glad to have tried it out. So yeah, clearly I need to bring the big guy back over for that one. So we're going to wrap up this episode. Thank you so much for watching, guys. As always, remember to head on over to the website, www.indie-impressions.com. Check out the videos, old and new, sort them by genre, sort them by distribution method. Check out maybe all the new Greenlight games that are coming, or that are showing up on the show. Oh, I didn't realize you could do that. And feel free to give those a vote, too, because there's a lot of great games out there that are getting discovered and moved over by Greenlight. And when you're done with the website, facebook.com/indieimpressions would be your next stop. If you'd like to leave a like on that page, then you'll get every day's new video right delivered into your Facebook feed. Makes it nice and convenient. That way you don't have to come looking for them, they'll just come right to you. And then you can stay on top of any new news updates, channel updates, or contests that I happen to do, and there are a few of those occasionally on that page. And lastly, if you're an indie dev and you want to contact me, or if you just have any questions, criticisms, suggestions, or whatnot, feel free to tweet me at RockLeeSmile, and all these links are going to be right in the description, as well as a purchase link for Thomas Was Alone. So don't worry about it if you missed anything. So that is going to do it for another episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and please come back again tomorrow, because I do a new awesome indie game every single day on the channel. So I hope to see you back for more, and I hope you enjoyed the episode. So take care. I will see you later.